Shalom, all praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha Kodash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the sealand of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Ratazah. This lesson is edifying. Revelation chapter 11 verse 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly.
This is Dabu 7. We're hearing more war drums being beaten, and this time we have warnings coming from the president of Serbia. The question is, what meeting did these guys walk out of? What are they exactly privy to? Because they seem to just drop breadcrumbs and hint at what is to come around the corner. And in terms of this man, he says that he believes that we are heading toward a war type of situation that we have not seen since World War II. And that we may enter this global military conflict here within the next 2 months. So that's right around the corner, literally, in terms of time frames. And he goes on to state that this is going to have everything to do with Russia and China surrounding Ukraine. So, with Russia saying that nuclear options are on the table, that tactical nuclear options are on the table, and then the other side saying the same thing, you start to wonder, will we see this mushroom cloud that the Chinese rover predicted? Will we see it come to fruition and happen in reality in this area? They're setting the stage for just that. And they're saying that at this point in time, we know that there's been a strategic phase of the war with Russia, the troops, everything that's gone down. Then comes a heavy bombardment phase that's going to happen, which we have not seen yet, they state. With this warning on the table, it would be worth heeding some of these warning signs, I would say, because at any given time, things could go in a bad direction in Ukraine. They've been shelling all around the nuclear power plant as is, that they had to shut down, and we already have the history of a nuclear disaster already happening in that region. So, I will update with more information as I come across it, and I'll leave a link here so you guys can read the details here connected to this. And check out the video clip there as well. Join me for the live stream Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on Dabu 777. You'll find links below in the description box. Much love you. This is Dabu 7. We've been hearing a lot of talk about nukes being used in Ukraine. And there's been a lot of news surrounding this region here as of late. We had the Serbian president come out basically and say, look, from what I could tell and from what he's heard, whatever meetings he's walking out of, he sees something big popping off within the next couple months. Everything having to do with Russia in big time war. He even says that it's going to move out of the strategic phase and into a big bombing phase, and that nukes could be used. Well, here we have Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, issuing this statement saying that yes, nukes are on the table, that Russian nukes could be used to defend annexed Ukraine regions. Now, if you missed it, Putin just came out and gave this big speech and said, look, we're going to hold these referendums in parts of Ukraine where people can vote on if they want to join Russia and be a part of our country that will defend so on and so forth, so they could take over these areas. The LPR, DPR, Kherson, those regions. And he says that there's no going back. Nuclear option is on the table, and the military leaders were talking about using tactical nukes on the battlefield that would not have a big yield, that would not have a lot of blowback in their face. They're not stupid here in a sense if they're going to use nukes. They know the history of what can happen in this area. But apparently Russia seems to have it weaponized to the degree to where they do not fear using it and having anything blow back in their face. Do they fear getting struck by another country is the question, because other countries have nukes as well, have hypersonic missiles, have tactical nukes, the whole nine. But this is where they're going with it as of late. This is the latest. Make sure to join me on the next live stream, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, over on Dabu777. You'll find links below. Hit that subscribe button for more. Much love, y'all.
In other news from the RT, nuclear war is possible. U.S. Commander. For the first time since the Cold War, conflict with a nuclear-armed peer is no longer theoretical. Admiral Charles Richard said. Navy Admiral Charles Richard, commander of U.S. Strategic Command, declared on Wednesday that for the first time since the end of the Cold War, the U.S. faces the possibility of nuclear war with a peer-level opponent. Speaking at an Air Force-organized conference in Maryland, Richard claimed that the U.S. would have to prepare to escalate quickly against possible opponents and to protect its homeland. All of us in this room are back in the business of contemplating direct armed conflict with a nuclear-capable peer, he said, according to a Pentagon summary of his comments. We have not had to do that in over 30 years. This is no longer theoretical. Russia and China can escalate to any level of violence that they choose in any domain with any instrument of power worldwide. He continued, we just haven't faced competitors and opponents like that in a long time. In fact, they haven't at all. In the eyes of Moscow, the U.S. is currently locked in a proxy conflict with Russia in Ukraine and has steadily escalated its commitment of weapons, intelligence, and financial assistance to Kyiv since Russian troops entered Ukraine in February. Russia's current nuclear doctrine allows for the use of nuclear weapons in the event of a first nuclear strike on its territory or infrastructure, or if the existence of the Russian state is threatened by either nuclear or conventional weapons. American doctrine allows for a nuclear first strike in extreme circumstances to defend the vital interests of the United States or its allies and partners. Russian President Vladimir Putin reiterated this position on Wednesday, declaring that the Kremlin would, without a doubt, use all available means to protect Russia and our people, should Russia, territory, be threatened. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov also warned that the U.S. was teetering on the brink of becoming a direct party in the Ukraine conflict, and Washington risking a direct collision between nuclear powers. Similar warnings have come from within the U.S. too, most notably from former President Donald Trump, who declared on Wednesday that the conflict, which he said should have never happened, could end up being World War III. Again, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And so World War II has already passed. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly. That is World War III. It cometh according to biblical prophecy here in Revelation chapter 11, verse 14, quickly. And it will come quickly after the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, has been globally mandated, according to the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter, the 16th verse on down. This war will be fought with burning and fuel of fire. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise. And so all wars that had been fought in antiquity, which means of old, were fought between nations going against each other with spears and swords and staves and bows, equipped, shields, bucklers, and men would trust through one another with swords, spears, lances, so on and so forth. There would be a lot of screaming. Wars would be fought more direct, if you will. But this war, that is the Third World War, will be fought with something far different. It reads on to say, and garments rolled in blood. But this, that is the Third World War, shall be with burning and fuel of fire. From what? What is going to cause the Third World War to be fought with burning and fuel of fire? The intercontinental ballistic missiles, which, according to the book of Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 25, are the weapons of the Lord's indignation, which means his righteous anger. And they will come from a far country, from countries such as Russia, China, Iran, including America's allies, who will, according to the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter, turn against America, including, according to the book of Obadiah, weapons that will cause the elements to melt with fervent heat, because the elements will become at equal balance with the heat that will be generated from those nuclear warheads. Everything will enter a state of equilibrium. Equilibrium means equal balance. And so when the Lord unleashes his wrath upon the kingdom of Esau, Edom, by way of those ICBM nuclear missiles, and there's a particular specific number of them that he's going to use. And they are, according to the book of Revelation chapter 9 verse 16, 200,000, which is 200 million. And the number of the army of the horsemen, Revelation chapter 9 verse 16, were 200,000. That is 200 million nuclear warheads. And I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, which the horses is a metaphor for the nuclear missiles, referred to Joel the 2nd chapter. And them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and jacinth and brimstone. And the heads, meaning the warheads, of the horses of the nuclear missiles were as the heads of lions, because a lion's head is where its power is at, where it uses its teeth, its jaws, to devour prey. And out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone, because the nuclear missiles will generate a fire that is not blown. Because you see, a fire is typically generated through what is known as a fire triangle, which comprises air, oxygen, and fuel. But a fire not blown is going to consume this man's kingdom. And that will be through the chain reactions of fusion and fission that will generate the nuclear heat within and from those warheads. And so a fire not blown is going to consume this man's kingdom. It will cause the elements to melt with fervent heat. All the elements will become equal in balance again to the heat that is generated by and from those nuclear warheads. And it is also said that the heat that is generated by a nuclear warhead is 10,000 times hotter than the interior of the sun. And that is according to Esau's science. Okay, only the Lord truly knows. Nonetheless, it will vary based upon the yield of the warhead. Because a warhead might only be 2 megatons of TNT. The bombs that were dropped upon Hiroshima and Nagasaki only had, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correct, about 1,000 kilotons of TNT. But now these warheads utilize megatons of TNT. In fact, Russia's Satan series missiles, which only comprises one warhead, and according to recent reports early up in the year, there are newer generations of those Satan series missiles, that is a Satan II to be more specific, can carry up to 2 or more nuclear warheads that will have yields up to 50 megatons of TNT, which is friggin' crazy amount of firepower, man. A warhead like that, one warhead like that can completely eviscerate a whole nation, a whole continent, or a great deal of it. But the Lord is going to utilize 200,000, 200 million of those warheads, because one missile can carry multiple warheads. See, people think that this is a joke. Oh, the Bible, it's a joke, it's a fairy tale. Oh, man wrote that. Oh, okay. All right, man. Anyway, reading on. And out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these 3 was the third part of men killed. The third part of men represents the nation of Esau, Edom, the wicked. By the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths, out of the mouth of the warheads. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. The tails are the engines that will propel them from one continent to the next. For their tails were like unto serpents, because once they leave those nuclear silos, the trail that is left by the rocket that propels them from one continent to the next leaves a trail that seems like a serpent, that has the appearance of a serpent. For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. The heads are the warheads, and they will hurt when they hit this man's kingdom upon the shores of the great whore, according to biblical prophecy, which is America, Babylon the Great. So I'll conclude the lesson here. Lord willing, it was edifying, because you see, these nations are preparing for war. The Lord is putting it in the spirits, into the minds of these different kings of these different nations to prepare for the third world's boat. which cometh quickly. Hence the reason why they've been beating their plowshares into swords and their pruning hooks into spears. That is to say that they've been taking their economic wealth and using them towards the research and developments and enhancements of weapons of mass destruction, such as missile defense systems, offensive systems, technology, and ultimately nuclear missiles. So the Most High is speeding this thing up, man. So with that, I will conclude this lesson. Lord's willing, it was edifying to the elect. Until the next, Lord's willing, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shara Tazah. Shalom to the elect.